morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is May 22nd, 2019. Please note that although I had the fun music in the beginning, this is actually not a Crazy Train Friday. No, we're just stuck in the middle of the week here still. And I don't have any of the funny clips that I put into the Crazy Train Fridays for these specific crazy comments. However, I did want to address these two comments because I find them particularly interesting, and I think that it would be helpful for everybody to hear what I have to say about these. So our first comment, that is not quite as crazy as our second one, is by Naslo 1974, and he states, "The sob sits is something that can't be. If one was to look up the definition of both words, to be one, you can't be the other. You either are the sov or you are the sits. Plain and simple." Although from what I have found from many hours of research, that there is indeed a version of the name that should be claimed and used as doing business as in the public sector. I can only stress the need to understand contracts and all of the types there are and how to avoid being trapped into liability. So much information out there, and all of it should be researched and fully understood before ever using it in court, business, public, and private. Well, Naslo, first of all, thank you for your comment. I would like to make mention of a few things. Number one, sob sits, although that's one that I actually hadn't heard before. I'm assuming you mean sovereign citizen. And as I've mentioned many times on this channel, the umbrella label of sovereign citizen is used not because it was made up by me or any other just plain person for that matter. It also wasn't made up by the government. See, sovereign citizens in the beginning of this movement actually made that name up themselves. That's the truth, and if you were doing real research, you would know that. So your argument is not with the Virgo Triad channel. Your argument is actually with the sovereign citizens themselves. They named themselves that and thought it was a really good name. Well, up until Homeland Security decided to state that they were considered domestic terrorists. Now they run from that name as fast as they possibly can. Next, I'd like to mention that you stated that you've done many hours of research and that there is indeed a version of the name that should be claimed and used as doing business as in the public sector. Well, let's start out by saying that there are two sectors, as you state. There's public and private. Here is the difference, and might I add, the only difference. If you are a private citizen, you're just like everybody else. Just running around, going to work every day, running a small business or something of that sort, and you pretty much are a citizen. Period. End of story. If you're in the public sector, however, you're generally running for office. Not necessarily an office like President of the United States either. You could simply be running for treasurer. You could be running for Senate. You could be running for mayor. It doesn't really matter. However, the statement of being public or private is absolutely not what is claimed by the Patriot movement and their followers. Doing business as is simply a DBA, and that is something that you generally acquire as a fictitious business name when you're just average Joe citizen. It doesn't make you any more public. It simply is a sole proprietorship that you choose to use instead of your name, a name that might sound a little more cool for your business. And you go down and visit the Secretary of State to register that fictitious business name, which is doing business as, in order to separate it from everybody else who might want that same name and let everybody know, hey, it's been taken. You register that name, and then you can use that DBA. However, it has nothing to do with becoming a corporation or any other such nonsense that they claim, as a DBA is simply a fictitious business name and can be used by any sole proprietor For that matter, it's one of the first steps of acquiring or establishing yourself as a business owner. You also state that you can only stress the need to understand contracts and all types there are and how to avoid being trapped into liability. You're not getting trapped into liability. If you are the person that is actually signing a contract, you are liable, period. There's no trick, no secret, and no stash of money anywhere that's secret from the government. They're not trapping you in with some secret language in the courtrooms, and the judges are not admiralty court judges. It's absolutely insane what these statements are that are being made. But regardless, you're doing your research, right? So much information out there, and all of it should be researched and fully understood before ever using it in court, business, public, and private. You're absolutely right, Noslo. Everyone should do their research. And if everyone did do their research properly, they would all find that this is all a bunch of garbage. Moving on from Noslo, we're going into an area of a little bit more, well, we'll say irritation. CS Game Over, which, by the way, if you take a look at his particular channel, you'll notice he runs a channel talking about how to get out of paying your child support. Responsibility, let me tell you, with these people. CS Game Over says, you say the all caps people are wrong, but did not explain how they are wrong. CS, clearly you didn't watch the video. I mean, after all, it's pretty obvious with showing 5 different court cases and many times over again, judges stating in their decision process that, hey, the all caps name doesn't mean anything like what you guys think it does. It simply is the way that actual professional content is written out on court documents and many other documents for that matter. It doesn't have anything to do with the claim that capital letters mean that that entity is somehow a corporation. And that's what the entire video was about. You said one cannot travel without a license, but I check the Constitution, and it still says the right to travel shall not be infringed. Okay, let's go back. This is going to be difficult for you, CS, but I want you to pay close attention now. The Constitution was written back in the late 1700s. That was before the first automobile was on the road by lots and lots of years. Also, the Constitution has amendments. You should try looking at the 10th one. The 10th Amendment actually states that the right of the states have the right to make their own rules regarding roads. That means that it is thrown from the Constitution to the states to make a decision on their traffic regulations now that there are these very dangerous machines called automobiles. And it doesn't really matter whether or not you agree with it being an automobile, a motor vehicle, a car, a vessel, or a pleasure craft. The state dictates what those things are. You don't get to dictate what it is. If it's a dangerous piece of machinery, chances are the state that you live in, at least if it's within the United States of America and most other countries too, are going to want you to have some form of license or permit to operate it. Then, CS says, maybe rename this channel to go back to Sleep Sheeple Channel. Here we go again with the sheeple. See, what you don't understand is, CS, that you guys are the ones that have the problem with research. You guys are the ones that occupy YouTube University. And actually, what that does is create sheeple amongst you guys. Because as you can see, the argument that you provided to me doesn't hold any water versus the argument that I just provided to you. As a result of that, that makes you asleep, not me. Go back and look at the Constitution again. Check out the amendments. Think about the fact that the Constitution was written long before actual automobiles or motor vehicles were ever on the road. And maybe then you'll start to see where you've gone wrong. He also states, nothing to see here. The government is in control and here for your good. Watch CNN and Virgo Triad. They will tell you what to think. No, I actually post all of my verifiable and sourced information as private links on my YouTube channel that you can go to the other private websites, and that way people can see for themselves what it is that I'm saying, and there is actual proof and evidence there. So telling someone what to think is actually what you're doing and what your group of individuals, the actual sheeple, do. They tell you what to think, and they tell you all kinds of disinformation in order to try to push their agenda and narrative. They don't provide real proof to you, and that's why you believe in this garbage. So CS, game over, game's over. All right, everyone, I'll be back later on today with an update on Miss April Lejeune, and I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. Take care.